A clever spider who could outsmart anyone, even the gods themselves. But when his greed grew too big, something happened that no one in the village would ever forget. I thank you from my heart for stopping to watch. May good things follow you. Please, my friend, help this small channel grow big. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss another story. Now, story begins. My children, lean closer, because this is the part where the story truly begins to shine like the morning sun after heavy rain. You see, in those days, long, long ago, before your grandfather's grandfather was even born, there was a sky god named Niame. Niame ruled over the heavens, the clouds, and the rain. His voice could be as soft as the whisper of a mother to her baby, or as loud as thunder rolling across the mountains. And among all the creatures in the world, Niame had seen one very special spider. Our friend, Anansi. Now, Anansi was famous in every corner of the earth. Not for being the biggest, no. Not for being the strongest, no. He was famous because his head was full of ideas. Some good, some bad, but all clever. He could trick an elephant, confuse a crocodile, and make even the wise old tortoise scratch his head. But one day, Niame looked down from the clouds and said to himself, This Anansi has a sharp mind, but he uses it mostly for tricks. Maybe I should give him something that will make him truly wise, something that will teach him sense, not just cunning. So Niame called Anansi to the foot of the tallest mountain. The mountain touched the sky like a spear pointing to heaven. The air there was so thin, even the wind sounded tired. Anansi, boomed Niame's voice. The little spider looked up and saw the great sky god, shining with light brighter than 1,000 suns. Great Niame, Anansi said, bowing low. What can I do for you today? Shall I catch a thief? Shall I tie the wind in a bag? Shall I— Shh, Niame chuckled. You talk too much. Today, I will give you something no other creature has. From behind his robe, Niame brought out a pot. Ah, my children, this was no ordinary pot. It was round and smooth, made from clay, but glowing faintly, as if the moonlight lived inside it. Strange markings danced across its surface, shapes like rivers, mountains, and stars. The moment Anansi saw it, his 8 little eyes grew wide. Niame said, Inside this pot is all the wisdom of the world. Every lesson learned, every secret known, every truth hidden. With it, you will understand all things. Anansi gasped. All the wisdom of the world? Yes, Niame said. I give it to you because you are clever and bold. But remember this, wisdom is not meant to be locked away. It is meant to be shared. If you keep it only for yourself, it will do you no good. Anansi nodded quickly. Oh, too quickly. Yes, yes, of course, great Niame. I will share it. Yes, share it. But deep inside, his heart began to whisper, If I have all the wisdom, I will be the smartest creature alive. Everyone will bow to me. Why share it? I can keep it for myself. Niame placed the pot gently in Anansi's hands. The little spider felt its weight. Not heavy, but somehow deep, as if it carried the weight of 1,000 stories. Go now, Niame said. Use it well. And with that, the sky god vanished into the clouds, leaving Anansi alone on the mountain, holding the most powerful treasure in the world. Anansi stood there for a long while, staring at the pot. The wind played with his legs, and the pot hummed softly in his hands, like it was alive. Finally, he whispered to himself, All the wisdom of the world, and it is mine. All mine. Ah, my children, if only Anansi had remembered Niame's warning. But you know our Anansi. His mind is quick, his heart is greedy, and trouble is never far when those two meet. And so, with a sly grin, Anansi began to plan. My good friends, Now that Anansi had the pot of wisdom, you would think he would go home and start helping people, giving advice and solving problems for everyone in the village. But no. You know Anansi. His legs may be small, but his greed is bigger than the forest. The moment Nyame disappeared into the sky, Anansi's mind started running faster than a goat chased by a lion. If I share this wisdom, then everyone will be as smart as me. And if they are as smart as me, who will bow when I speak? Who will call me the great Anansi? No, 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 I will keep it all for myself. So Anansi hurried down the mountain, clutching the pot close to his chest. The pot hummed softly, almost as if it knew his thoughts and didn't approve. But Anansi didn't care. He was already making plans. When he reached the forest, the sun was starting to sink, and the sky glowed with that golden-orange light that makes everything look like a dream. Anansi stopped under a big baobab tree and whispered to himself, "If I hide the pot here, someone might find it. I need to put it somewhere no one can reach, somewhere only I can get it." He thought, and thought, and thought, until finally his 8 eyes lit up. Aha! I will hide it at the very top of the tallest tree in the forest. Yes, no one will be able to climb that high except me. But there was a problem. Anansi was clever, yes, but his spider legs were small, and the pot, though not heavy, was big and awkward to carry. How would he climb with it? He scratched his head and decided to try anyway. He looked around for the tallest tree, and there it was. A giant silk cotton tree, its trunk as wide as a house and its branches disappearing into the clouds. The tree was so tall, even the birds got tired halfway up. Anansi tied the pot in front of his belly with a vine, thinking it would be easy to climb that way. But my children, when he tried to lift himself up, the pot kept swinging and hitting the tree trunk. "Ow! Ow! Ow! This is not working!" he shouted. He tried again, climbing slowly. But each time the pot got in his way, blocking his legs. He would slip, scramble and cling to the bark, huffing and puffing like an old goat climbing a hill. Hours passed. The sun dipped lower. The forest started to hum with the sounds of night. Crickets chirping, frogs croaking, owls calling. Anansi was sweating, his legs trembling, and still he had not made it halfway up the tree. Now, as Anansi struggled, his young son, Kweku Tsin, happened to be walking through the forest. He stopped and looked up. "Papa, what are you doing? You look like a grasshopper stuck to a pole." Anansi grumbled. "Go away, boy." "Can't you see I'm busy with something important?" Kweku tilted his head. "Why are you tying the pot in front of you like that? Why not tie it to your back? That way, your legs will be free to climb." Anansi froze. His eyes widened. Why didn't I think of that? You see, my children, Anansi had the pot of all the wisdom in the world. But even with all that wisdom, a small child had just given him a simple idea he had not thought of. Anansi untied the pot from his belly and strapped it to his back instead. Immediately, climbing became much easier. He scurried up the tree like a lizard, reaching the very top in no time. But as he sat there on the highest branch, the wind blowing around him, a deep shame crept into his heart. All the wisdom of the world, and still my own son had to show me the simplest thing. What use is it if I cannot think of such a small solution myself? He looked at the pot in his hands. The more he thought about it, the more he realized Nyame had been right. Wisdom was not meant to be hidden, and so Anansi did something no one expected. He lifted the pot high over his head and let it drop. The pot smashed into 1,000 pieces, and all the wisdom inside flew out like a swarm of glowing fireflies, spreading through the air, over the trees, across the rivers, into the hearts and minds of every creature in the world. That is why, my children, no one has all the wisdom, but everyone has a little. And that is why sometimes even a child can teach something to the wisest of elders. My children, that moment when the pot slipped from Anansi's hands, the whole forest seemed to hold its breath. Down, down, down it fell, spinning like a falling fruit. Pah! It hit the ground, and the sound echoed like thunder rolling across the hills. The pot broke into 1,000 glittering pieces, each one shining brighter than moonlight on a river. But what came out was even more amazing. Streams of golden light, sparkling like dancing fireflies, swirling up into the sky. The wind caught the golden streams and carried them far and wide, over mountains, across rivers, deep into the forests, even into the small corners of every village. The light slipped through windows, crept under doors, and settled gently into the hearts and minds of people. Have wisdom, not locked in a pot, not hidden in a tree, but scattered among us all. And as for Anansi, well, let's just say he went home that evening humming a tune, his mind already busy planning his next big adventure. My children, you think the story ends there? You don't know Anansi well if you think he just went home, slept and forgot about the matter. No-o. That night, after the stars had scattered across the black sky like cowrie shells on velvet, Anansi lay on his mat. He could not sleep. His mind kept turning like the millstone in an old woman's hands. He remembered the golden light flying away, remembered the people smiling as new ideas came into their heads. And then, trouble entered his heart. You see, Anansi loved wisdom, yes, but he loved being the only one with wisdom even more. He thought, if everyone is clever now, how will I be the smartest in the village? How will I outsmart people if they are watching me with wise eyes? The next morning, he decided to test the situation. He went to the village square, where the elders were sitting under the shade of the Iroko tree. Good morning, elders, Anansi greeted, bowing low like a humble man. Good morning, Anansi, they replied, though some of them looked at him with eyes that were sharper than a hunter's arrow. Anansi brought out a small basket he had woven. Elders, he said, I have a riddle for you. If you can answer it, I will give you this basket as a gift. But if you cannot, you must each give me one fat yam. Before the wisdom pot broke, Anansi would win this game easily. He would ask something tricky. The elders would scratch their heads until the sun went down, and in the end, he would walk away with his stomach ready for a feast. But now, one elder, old Kwaku Mensa, leaned forward and listened to the riddle. Before Anansi could even finish speaking, the old man clapped his hands and said, The answer is the moon's shadow on water. Anansi froze. How did you know? Kwaku Mensa chuckled. The wisdom came to me last night in a dream. I think your golden light passed through my hut. Anansi tried again with another riddle, but Elder Ama Nkrumah answered it before he had even taken a breath. He tried again with a story twist, but a young boy sitting nearby shouted the answer before the elders could speak. Anansi's eyes were growing big like ripe mangoes. Everywhere he turned, people seemed sharper, quicker. The golden light had truly done its work. That night, as he walked home, the moon following him like a silent witness, Anansi spoke aloud to himself. Ain, Anansi, he said, you have made a mistake. You wanted to keep all the wisdom, but you dropped it. Now, even a child can stand before you and match your wit. But then, oh, my children, something happened that would change the way Anansi saw the world forever. From somewhere deep inside him, a voice spoke. It was not the voice of his son, not the voice of any villager. It was the voice of wisdom itself. Anansi, the voice said, slow and steady, like the beating of a drum. Do you not see? You have not lost wisdom, you have multiplied it. Now, you can learn as much as you teach. You can sharpen your cunning against sharper minds. If you are truly clever, you will grow greater, not smaller, in this new world. Anansi stopped walking. He blinked. He looked around, but the road was empty, only the sound of night crickets filling the air. "Who said that?" he asked. "Wisdom," the voice replied. "The same wisdom you tried to hide in the pot. I am not a thing to be locked away, Anansi. I am a river. I must flow." Anansi scratched his head. He didn't like being lectured, not even by something magical. But deep inside, he knew the voice was right. From that night, Anansi began to use his tricks differently. Instead of just outsmarting people to take from them, he started finding ways to learn from them, and still sometimes to win the game. After all, a spider must still weave his web. But now, the web would have new patterns. My children. You think Anansi's ears heard that voice and he became a good, humble, sharing man overnight? You don't know the spider. Even when you chase him away from one pot of soup, he will sneak in from the roof to taste the stew. That night, after the voice of wisdom had faded into the crickets, Anansi sat under the pawpaw tree behind his hut. He tapped his chin with one long finger and muttered, "River of wisdom. If it is a river, then a clever spider like me should be able to find its source and drink it dry." Now, in those days, there was an old woman who lived beyond the hills. People said she was older than the oldest Iroko tree, and that her eyes had seen the first sunrise. Her name was Mama Sika, and they whispered that she knew the paths to every hidden thing, even the river of wisdom. Anansi decided to visit her. Early the next morning, before the cock crowed twice. Anansi put on his travelling cloth, tied a calabash to his back, and set off. The road was long, and the dust rose in small clouds behind him. He crossed streams that laughed over stones, past farms where goats stared at him suspiciously, and finally reached Mama Sika's compound. She was sitting on a low stool, grinding herbs with a stone, her back straight like a spear. Without looking up, she said, "Kwame Anansi, I knew you would come." "You want to find the river of wisdom?" Anansi's eyes grew wide. How did you know?" Mama Sika smiled without showing her teeth. "Wisdom told me." Anansi laughed nervously. "Ah, Mama Sika, then you know I am the right person to, take care of such a river." She stopped grinding and looked straight into his eyes. "My son, wisdom is not for keeping. If you try to own all the water, you will drown in it. But my children, you know Anansi's heart." But he did not listen. Mama Sika finally told him the way. "Follow the path until you reach the forest where no birds sing. There you will find a waterfall made of golden light. That is the river of wisdom. Drink with respect and leave the rest for others." Anansi thanked her, bowed like a humble man, and left. But inside he was thinking, respect. Leave the rest. Ah, Mama Sika, you don't know me. I will drink until the river runs dry. The journey to the silent forest was strange. At first he heard the usual rustle of leaves, but the deeper he went, the quieter it became. No birds, no wind, even his own footsteps seemed shy. And then he saw it. A waterfall of pure golden light tumbling into a pool so clear that it looked like the sky had fallen into the earth. He could see shapes moving in the water. Shapes of old kings, wise women, inventors, storytellers, all smiling at him. Anansi's heart began to beat faster. "This is mine," he whispered. He knelt at the edge, dipped his calabash into the glowing water, and drank. Ah, my children, the taste was sweeter than honey, fresher than the first rain. He felt his mind stretch wide, filling with ideas, secrets and songs from 1,000 years. But Anansi did not stop. He drank again, and again, and again. The more he drank, the heavier his head became. The more he tried to swallow, the more the water seemed to rise around him. Suddenly, the golden pool began to swirl. The voices in the water grew louder, then angry. "Anansi!" they roared. "Wisdom is not yours alone!" A great wave rose from the river, lifted him like a dry leaf, and threw him far onto the forest floor. The calabash rolled away, empty. When Anansi sat up, coughing, the waterfall was gone, as if it had never been there. He stumbled home with nothing but a headache and a strange buzzing in his ears. That night, as he lay on his mat, the voice of wisdom returned, softer this time. "Anansi," it said, "you cannot drink a river. You can only take a sip, share it, and come back when you are thirsty again." And though he grumbled deep inside, Anansi knew the voice was telling the truth. When Anansi returned from the silent forest, he looked the same on the outside, thin legs, small belly, tricky smile, but inside his head, there was a storm. Everywhere he went, ideas jumped into his mind like popcorn on a hot fire. If someone complained about the market price of yam, he would say, "The solution is simple. Plant yam upside down so it grows faster." If children were playing by the river, he would tell them, "Don't play here. If you whistle in this water, a fish will bring you gold." At first, people were impressed. "Anansi is so wise now," they whispered. Before, he only thought of himself, but now his mouth is full of ideas. But you know Anansi, he could not resist turning this new gift into a business. He went to the village square and stood on a stool. "People of our land," he shouted, "I, Kwame Anansi, have returned from the river of wisdom. Bring me your problems, and I will give you answers, for a small fee." Soon, the line in front of him stretched longer than the chief's shadow at sunset. One woman came and said, "My goat refuses to give milk." Anansi rubbed his chin. Feed it roasted groundnuts mixed with honey for 3 days. That will make it sing and give milk again." The woman paid him a basket of mangoes and went away smiling. A farmer came next. "My maize will not grow." Anansi nodded like a chief. "Plant it at midnight while wearing a red cloth. The maize will fear you and grow tall." The farmer gave him 2 fat chickens. For weeks, Anansi's hut was full of gifts: yams, fish, cola nuts, even palm wine. He grew fatter, lazier, and prouder. But there was one problem. The wisdom he drank was not complete. He had only taken a greedy gulp, not the full river. Some of his advice was correct, but some was pure foolishness. The woman who fed her goat roasted ground nuts. The goat became too fat and lazy, stopped walking, and finally refused to move at all. The farmer who planted maize at midnight in a red cloth. Hyenas saw him in the moonlight and chased him through the bush until he climbed a tree and dropped all his maize seeds. The village began to murmur. "Anansi's wisdom is dangerous. He is leading us into trouble." One day the chief himself called Anansi. "Spider, they say you drank from the river of wisdom. Then why is the village suffering from your advice?" Anansi smiled, trying to look innocent. My chief, sometimes wisdom must be tested before it works." But the chief frowned. Wisdom that destroys is not wisdom at all. That night, Anansi lay awake, staring at the thatched roof. The voice of wisdom whispered again, "Anansi, wisdom is not for showing off. It is not for selling. It is for helping." Anansi turned his head away. "Helping is not as sweet as collecting gifts," he muttered. But deep inside he felt a small crack in his pride. My people, we have reached the end of this journey with our friend Anansi." But wait. The end of a story is never really the end. Because a good story is like a calabash of palm wine. You drink it today, but the sweetness remains in your mouth tomorrow. Let us go back to that day. The day the pot of wisdom broke. The day pride fell flat like a tired drumskin. When the pot hit the ground and shattered, prang! The wisdom inside scattered like millet seeds in the wind. Some wisdom landed on the leaves. Some wisdom landed on the river water. Some wisdom went deep into the soil. Some even flew into the noses of birds. Yes, that is why some birds can sing sweet songs today. Anansi stood there, looking down at the broken pieces. His mouth was wide open. Ah, you could have thrown a mango seed inside without touching his lips. For the first time in a long time, Anansi had nothing to say. No trick, no clever answer, only silence. The sky god speaks from high above. Nyame, the sky god, looked down, and his voice rolled across the sky like distant thunder. Anansi, you fool yourself. You thought wisdom is only for you, but wisdom is like sunlight. It is for everyone, not just one small spider. Because if only one person holds all the wisdom, then the whole world will remain in darkness. Anansi lowered his head. His 8 legs trembled. He wanted to speak, but shame tied his tongue like a tight knot. The people rejoice. Down in the village, people began to notice strange things. The farmers started planting their crops in new, better ways. The women learned to make sweeter palm wine. The children began to ask smarter questions. Even the goats started finding their way home faster. Ah, that is wisdom too. And that is how wisdom spread all over the world. No one could collect it back into one pot again. Anansi's reflection. Now, my children, you may think Anansi learned his lesson and became humble forever. Let me tell you, Anansi is still Anansi. Even today, the spider still looks for tricks. But that day, deep in his heart, he kept a small piece of wisdom. No matter how clever you are, there will always be something you can learn from another. The lesson for us all. And so, the elders say, wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one person can embrace it alone. A proud heart will break faster than a clay pot in the sun. When you share knowledge, you do not lose it. You multiply it. That is why, even as I tell you this story, I am giving you a little bit of that wisdom that once sat in the pot. And you, my listener, will pass it on to someone else, and the circle will never end. My people, this is where the drumbeat stops for today. If your heart is happy with this story, carry it like cola nut to your friends. Tell them what happened to Anansi the spider. And remember, wisdom is sweeter when shared. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please click, like, comment, share it so others can join our storytelling circle, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales from the heart of Africa. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your heart open, and your mind ready for the next story. I love you all. Bye.